Right then, so it was only a week ago that Sir Jim Ratcliffe appeared that he was coming out on top in the bid to buy Manchester United. Fast forward to now, and it appears that Sheikh Jassim is in the driving seat to buy Manchester United. And who knows, by the end of this video, someone might have actually bought Manchester United. But just going off what we think might happen, and it does increasingly look like Sheikh Jassim will be the new Manchester United owner, I thought I would look into some of the things that he needs to do ASAP to get United back to winning ways. The first thing, and something that seemingly is already going to happen and already promised, is clearance of the debt. Now, I believe that the debt had to be cleared in the event of any sale because of the way that the loan was set up in the first place for the Glazers. But it was a case of, who was going to clear that, and that might be still one of the things that's left to be decided, or the way that's going to be done has left to be decided. The debt has shrunk and increased and shrunk and been repackaged, and it stands now almost what it was when the Glazers put that leveraged takeover on the club all those years ago. And not only that, it's grown over the last few years. Manchester United have been paying for players with credit. United have around about 270 million that we owe to other clubs for players, probably some players that don't even play for the club anymore, we're still paying off. So there's the debt in terms of the capital that was used by the Glazers to buy the club in the first place from JP Morgan. And then there's the debts that we've got owing and outstanding on players that might have long since retired. The dividend and debt refinancing over the last 18 years has cost Manchester United somewhere in the region of about 1.6 to 1.7 billion pounds. At the same time, that's the sort of figure that's been invested into Manchester City. So the gulf in investment over the last 8 to 10 years, 15 years is frankly ridiculous. And it shows, one club was about to be European champions when the Glazers took over, and one club is the current European champions, and the difference pretty much can be explained by the level of investment that's gone in. So the Qatari bid is set to clear the debt at United completely, finally. Because it's been incredible that Manchester United were able to spend as much as our opposition like to remind us that we've spent under Ed Woodward in the last 10 years. I like to remind them that whilst Alex Ferguson was winning 3 in a row and delivering Champions Leagues and Champions League final appearances, Manchester United was making a profit on transfers. We had a negative net spend from the Glazer takeover until Sir Alex Ferguson's final season. Yes, that was in large part because we sold Cristiano Ronaldo for a record fee, but it's still a fact, so roll with it. For United to get back to winning ways beyond the Glazers and move on from that entire Glazer stigma that we've had, we need to be operating as a club that can successfully manage its finances. I think the club's finances have been managed for the benefit of the Glazers for the last 18 years and not for the benefit of Manchester United. There is no business plan in the world that can tell me investing more into debt repayments and financing than in your playing staff is a good model to operate a football club. And what do we have to show for it? We have this nice shiny new stadium. Oh, no we don't. We have this state-of-the-art world envy training ground. Oh, no we don't. We have an invested academy system. Oh, no, we don't have that either. We have the best women's... No, we don't have that either. Oh, no. We have owners who've just got really rich. And banks who probably paid most of that out in bonuses. Cheers, lads. Number 2, and not unrelated, infrastructure. United's infrastructure is an absolute disgrace. And for me, one of the most disappointing things of the Glazer regime era. Ronaldo said in his interview with Piers Morgan that the training ground had not been updated in any way, shape or form from the day that he left the club in 2009 till the day that he returned a decade later. And frankly, that's disgusting, or over a decade later. And it's the same with Old Trafford. The only work that has been done at Old Trafford was the widening of some of the tunnels across East Stand and the reallocation of some of the disabled seats to a view that's actually more disadvantageous for disabled supporters than it would be advantageous. Why couldn't you put them on the first tier where they can actually see the game? I used to have a ticket in East Lower, and I was on row P, which is about level with the centre of those tunnels as they come out. And I used to stand for the entire game, and I could not see the ball on the other side of the pitch. We would quite often watch the second half of a beer on the TV on the concourse because you couldn't see the ball on the second half of the pitch. Remember Michael Owen's goal? Yeah, I had no idea that was going in until I saw the back of the net bulge. Can't see the ball. And that happened so many times when I used to sit in East Lower. Now, you're going to sit our disabled fans, our most vulnerable fans, one, where they can get a ball in the face. Nice one. Appreciate that. Two, where they're sat down and they're on the first couple of rows at the bottom of East Stand. The camber in Manchester United's pitch means they're only seeing 50% of the action. You could have quite easily accommodated them. Now, actually, I have missed this. There has been a development. It's not yet complete at the back of the Stretford end where some disabled fans are going to be sat with disabled fans. I will say, though, Stretford end tier 2, the entire stand stands up, and I can just see loads of problems with people refusing to sit down and the disabled fans behind them complaining because they can't see over people that are stood up in front of them. The club just can't do anything right. You know, they could have easily created a section where this works, where they can be at the front and people can stand behind them and everybody's happy and everyone gets to watch the game with no problems. But they haven't done that. They've done whatever the cheapest thing is that they can do. That, by the way, that extension of the disabled section in the back of the Stretford end is the only change that has happened at Old Trafford under the Glazer regime. Since they took over in 2005, the one other change, which was the filling in of the quadrants, that was paid for and planned from 2004 under Martin Edwards. When you look at the 18 years that preceded the Glazers and then the 18 years post the Glazers, it's a fucking disgrace. There's no other word for it. Martin Edwards, and in part down to the Taylor Report, which saw the abolition of standing across the Premier League, the introduction of all-seater stadiums, but that was completed by like 94. By 1994, United were fully compliant with everything that was required in the Taylor Report. The Stretford end was demolished. The terracing at the bottom of East Stand was all completely swapped out, and Manchester United had a bowl, the original sort of bowl, all-seater stadium arena, held about 45,000, something in that sort of arena, and the place was perfectly sort of symmetrical. For those that go to the ground now, if you look at South Stand, imagine that, but all the way around the ground. That was what we had. And then ahead of Euro 96 in 1995, we built the North Stand to 3 tiers. Later, around the turn of the century, we added the extensions for tier 2 on East and West Stand, Stretford and K Stand. And then we filled in the quadrants 2005-2006, which was already dealt with under Martin Edwards 2004. There has been, subsequently, no fucking changes to the stadium. And if you look at the transformation of the ground from 1987 to 2005 and contrast that to the changes that have happened in the ground since the Glazers took over in 2005 to now, it's fucking laughable. The place is packed out week in, week out. There's people paying hand over fist for the concessions, for the beer. The place is always full. And none of it gets reinvested in there where the supporters can benefit from it. There's leaks. It's the running joke about how fucking leaky the roof is. And I don't know if you noticed, but Old Trafford is in Greater Manchester. It is in the Trafford area of Manchester. Not like Salford or some City fans who proclaim to be from Manchester think it is. It's not. It's in Trafford. That's it. It rains a lot round here. And you've got a stadium where the fucking roof leaks. It's embarrassing. Transport links could be way better. There's a bit of a hike whether you go to Old Trafford. And here's the thing. You look at a map for the Metro and you go, boom, Old Trafford, there you go. I'm in. No, it's a bit of a hike still. It's like, it feels like about a mile. Not sure how far it is. Probably about a kilometre. It's a fair old hike anyway. The other option is that you go to Pomona or you go to Media City. But they're all a bit of a hike. Where City, they have a tram stop at the front of Asda on one side and at the back of the stadium on the other side. Take your pick where you want to get off. And this happens for both United and City actually, but Manchester City Council could get a fucking grip here because when you get the tram to and from the game, you would think that they go, hey, rather than having people standing and packed out on the platforms the way they do, waiting for a 2-carriage fucking train, why don't we put, I don't know, like an 8-10 carriage on? Something where you can actually fit a substantial number of people on and actually clear this thing quicker. There is zero fucking desire from Manchester City Council to be able to actually service the people of Manchester. And it's not always easy to drive. You drive, you're going to be stuck for an hour waiting in the car parks. Otherwise, you go fuck yourself, you need to walk. The transport links around Old Trafford could be fucking way better. And that's not all the Glazers' fault, but it's a fact. The new owners can put pressure on Manchester City Council to improve that shit if they choose. And Manchester United is a big enough fish in this city that it should be able to get its way if it puts a bit of weight on the council. The only good thing at Old Trafford is we actually serve the cheapest pints in the league. But it is Carling. And that's rat piss. And arguably equally as embarrassing, the fact that you've got the UK and Ireland's bid to host Euro 2028 did not even include Old Trafford. It included the Etihad. And if that's not a fucking smack in the face, a heavily refurbished and refunded Old Trafford should be the jewel. It's the biggest club stadium in the country. It should be the fucking jewel of English football when it comes to any bid. The fact it's not is telling. And people go, they only decided to choose one in Manchester. Well, why not the biggest? Because it's not the best. And that's not good enough. Because at one point it was, and as was Carrington, as was the team that was on the pitch. One of my favourite books, Soccernomics, talks about how Manchester United are one of the only clubs in the world that managed to consistently make a profit. And they've done so despite the 150 million a season drained out of the club just in debt repayments that the Glazers put on us. You can comfortably make this club run smoothly again. And it can be extremely profitable. Doing that shouldn't be a problem. All of the things that we're talking about here, the expenses of everything, it should not be a problem for United. If you just cleared Manchester United's debt, the knock-on effects of that extra 100 million a season will be so substantial after a few years, let alone any money that you want to inject into the team. Frightening. The upstairs. So recent reports suggest that the Glazers are planning on conducting a 100-day review process on the club's hierarchy. Why it took them 18 years to do this, I don't fucking know. But despite a handful, at best, of good appointments over the last few years, and certainly getting rid of Ed Woodward, United's front office, if you like, has been poor since the Glazers took over. And I would say it was even poor under Sir Alex Ferguson. The complete lack of succession planning for Sir Alex Ferguson. Manchester United should have had a live shortlist of 5 managers interviewed that had given a presentation, that knew what philosophies they wanted to bring and what players they wanted to sign. And every single summer, they should have been updating that list. Oh, this guy's just moved to Real Madrid. Okay, let's put him on the maybe pile because he might come around again. What's this guy saying? Every single hot manager, every single manager that's got a little bit of buzz about him, right now, you would probably put De Zerbi on that shortlist, right? After the season that he's just had. A couple of others kicking around the world that you might have on your live shortlist. Invite them in for a nice little interview. Listen, nothing's happening at the moment, but we really like what you're doing. If you was Manchester United manager, how would that look? Come back to us in a couple of months, give us a presentation, and we'll let you know should anything change with Sir Alex Ferguson. Why couldn't you do that? Why did you have to rely on Sir Alex Ferguson going knocking fucking David Moyes out of bed and being like, guess what? What? You're the new United manager. Sin a fucking bit. What the fuck sort of succession planning was that? Really? David Moyes never applied for that job. David Moyes was told he was the new Manchester United manager. He never accepted that job. Go watch the interview with him. He just kind of goes, oh. He doesn't say, all right, yeah, cool. He just kind of goes, there was no plan. He hadn't been thinking about it. He just got fucking told, hey, guess what? You're the new man. Insane. Genuinely insane. It sounds like we sounded out Pep Guardiola when Fergie went to meet him, but he'd already agreed that he was going to Manchester City. Or to Bayern Munich maybe at the time. It sounded like we'd sounded that out. But was that it? We sent Fergie off to go and have fucking coffee with somebody. That wasn't succession planning. Where was the fucking CEO of the football club that was looking out for the club around Sir Alex Ferguson? Sir Alex Ferguson was an employee of the club. It's not the Sir Alex Ferguson club. Yes, he might be the greatest manager that football has ever seen, let alone this football club has ever seen. That doesn't mean that the club shouldn't have been working with him to find the future successions. And he should have had an input, not the whole say. So Alex Ferguson should have been involved in finding his successor, and he was on a rolling 1-year contract. So every single summer when he says, yep, I'm in for another year, Manchester United should immediately then update their shortlist and say, right, okay, should he walk away at the end of this season, what are we doing? And we can re-interview them in 6 months, see where we're at, let them know, maybe we're looking at bringing in somebody else, maybe we're not, but we liked what you said in your presentation. Done. And then Sir Alex Ferguson comes to you in the November the way he did and goes, actually, I'm fucking out of it. You can then spend 3 or 4 months interviewing people rather than playing knock-a-door fucking run with David Moyes. Now, if I can think of this, surely the people being paid $5 fucking million a season at Manchester United can think of this, action this, and make this shit fucking happen. David Gill is a great football man, and he's a good CEO. He's partially to blame for the way this was handled as well. And the club allowing David Gill and Sir Alex Ferguson to both leave at the same time was fucking catastrophic for this football club. You've got a brand new manager who doesn't have a fucking clue what's going on, and a brand new CEO who doesn't know what fucking day it is. Absolute fucking shambolic all around. Pathetic. And then once you've got David Moyes in, you find out fairly quickly he ain't the man. You fuck him off. You bring in someone that requires a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and things done in a very particular sort of way in Louis van Gaal. It didn't work out. Yes, he was on the up. He was finishing top 4. He was winning trophies. Wasn't quite good enough. He wasn't closing the gap as quick as we like. There was a shiny thing available in Jose Mourinho. So fuck this philosophy that we've been working on for the last 2 years. Let's chase the fucking shiny thing. And what's that? He wants to get rid of Daley Blind and Memphis Depay and half the players, actually all the players that Louis van Gaal signed. Sweet, that's not going to cost us loads of fucking money, is it? Bring Jose Mourinho in. That experiment, which is meant to be the immediate success experiment, fails. Then you have to completely rebuild it with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Don't really think there was a long-term plan with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There certainly wasn't a long-term plan with bringing Ralph Rangnick in for 6 months. As excited as I was about that, that didn't fucking work. Then you bring Erik ten Hag in. And at what point did we think any of this was likely to go and be successful? There has to be so much more planning done in the front office. So much more fucking planning. It's not acceptable to run it like a fucking pub team the way they are doing. Who's managing that team next week? I don't fucking know. We'll figure it out. Not acceptable in a supposedly $6 billion fucking company. Are you mental? Darren Fletcher's been praised by Ten Hag. I still don't 100% know what he does. I don't know if his role has been sort of ratified and clarified publicly. I've not seen it if it has, if that's been the case. Richard Arnold, I like his attitude. I like the fact that he's willing to go and sit. I like the fact that he's more willing to sit down with fans and have a beer than he is to schmooze the broadsheet types. I like that. I think that says a hell of a lot about him. But the jury's still out on him because we don't know what he is capable of doing yet. There has to be a long enough time period where you get to see the impact of a CEO. Manchester City have been successful, you might say partially by breaking the fucking rules, and you might not be wrong in saying that. But you can't deny that the philosophy that they've adhered to has been a consistent one that has always gone the same way. They haven't switched path 5-6 times in the last decade. It's been consistent. It's been always aiming at doing the one thing. They brought players in that are going to do this one thing. They brought a manager in to do this one thing. They then put that philosophy right the way throughout the club to do that one thing. They're always pushing to do things the best they can do them. They built a training ground, which I have to fucking drive past every day, and it's a great training ground. It's brilliant. It's got everything and more than a football club could want to be successful doing what they're trying to do. And United have stalled. And United don't have the Sorianos and the Bajiristeins in the position with the power to be able to go and enact things. And not just that, look at what they're doing with the City Football Group. franchising out Manchester City, their scouting knowledge, their ability to recruit players from literally across the fucking globe. And here's the thing, Manchester United were the pioneers in that, and the Glazers shut it down. Like Manchester United were pioneers for the women's team, and the Glazers shut it down. If you're wondering why people fucking complain about the Glazers and it's not fucking come to your brain just yet, oh, well, you spent $1 billion in the last year. Fuck you. We spent $1.5 billion on debt. How about that? How about that? It gets brought up when we're fucking looking at the net spend fucking league tables. Hey? The Glazers have been fucking horrific for this football club. And the fact that we're able to finish top four and compete just shows how good we would be if we had owners that had the sort of ambition the likes of Cities do. Next up, trust Ten Hag. One of the most dangerous times for any manager is when a new owner comes in. New owners need to come in and trust the manager, or you end up with what Chelsea have just had this year. Oh, I want a shiny thing, fuck him off and bring Frank Lampard in. That worked, didn't it? Ten Hag proven what he could do at Ajax, and I think he's shown at Manchester United he is a serious manager not to be fucked with. There's been a couple of blips this season, but largely very positive, identifying a style of play. I think we just ran out of steam. I think there's too much deadwood in the squad. Give him several windows, and I think this guy delivers ultimately in the end. He needs access to funds, and he needs to have people bought that he wants. Don't just fucking sign Mbappe because you want him to play for Manchester United. Don't need that. We need someone to go to the manager and him to have the most important final veto on any player. And he needs to listen to him when he identifies players that he does want. If I've managed in the past that should have done better, and the club didn't back him. Jose Mourinho had a window where he was given a backup goalkeeper and Fred. And we expected him to try and catch Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. It needs to be different. If he wants Harry Kane, go get fucking Harry Kane. If he wants Kim Min-jae, go get Kim Min-jae. I know for a fact that this happened under Jose Mourinho, and ultimately it wouldn't have necessarily been the right or wrong thing. Jose Mourinho wanted to get rid of Luke Shaw, which probably would have been proven to be a mistake, Tony Martial, and Paul Pogba. Pogba, I think, is 50-50. Martial, I think he was correct on because he's literally done nothing since then. Luke Shaw, he was incorrect on. The reason that didn't happen is that United couldn't come to an agreement with Jose Mourinho about who they should buy. Manchester United wanted to buy Ryan Sessegnon. Was that the right decision? Jose Mourinho wanted to buy Danny Rose. Was that the right decision? Actually, Luke Shaw was the better decision out of all three of those. But the point is, he wasn't fucking listened to. And a manager should be allowed to live and die on his own terms. Whatever it is he's seen or heard about a particular player that he thinks fits his team, you try and fucking screw a light switch together with a hammer and you're not going to do it right. You got to allow the man that's fucking doing the work to pick the tools. Otherwise, don't judge him by your choices. It's as simple as that. Sir Alex wasn't really backed. I don't think. Provably. You don't go from the sort of signings we had the 5 years pre-Glazers to the signings we got 5 years post-Glazers. He still managed a level of success in that time, but it wasn't the same. And we fell off. I think Karim Benzema would be a Manchester United player if Sir Alex was backed in his last 5 years as he was in the 5 years that preceded the Glazers joining. And finally, it's been a long video this, but it's been worth it. Thanks for sticking to the end. Make Manchester United Manchester United again. What the fuck does that mean? Over the last decade, what Manchester United are has been waning. I don't like the toxicity and the negativity in the fan base. I don't like when things get personal with players. Now, I criticise players, but I'll criticise them on performance alone. And I got no problems with that. Manchester United, for me, used to represent the best at everything. We had the best stadium. We had the best fans. We had the best kits. We had the best team. We had the best sponsorships. Like, we had everything that Manchester United, the training ground was literally world leading 20 years ago. And then we went, okay, we don't need to fucking invest in that anymore. Everything Manchester United did was world class. And we did it World class because that was our own standard. World class as standard. And now it seems to be, I've got a mate who'll do it cheaper, is our standard. And that's not Manchester United. Whether it's in the transfer market, whether it's on the pitch, whether it's the stadium, the sponsorship deals, the training ground. Even look at some of the retro stuff that we're getting through Adidas and compare it to what fucking Arsenal are getting. How about grow a pair of bollocks, kick off with fucking Adidas and say, how about you start treating us like the biggest fucking club in the world that we are, so we get the best fucking looking stuff. It's not fucking acceptable, man. Start putting in a standard where world class is the fucking minimum expectation and watch the entire vibe around this football club change. I don't give a fuck if your mate can do it cheaper. He ain't the best in the world. He can go fucking kick rocks. Anyway, 5 things the new owner needs to do. Let me know your 5 in the comments. See in a bit. Fucking subscribe and all, or I'll find you. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.